Okay, welcome to the Bayou Culture Collaborative. My name's Dr. Gary LaFleur, and as y'all are popping in right now would be a good time for you to introduce yourself in the chat. And you can remind us maybe where you're zooming in from or maybe who you're representing. Today we're going to hear from our colleague, Bren Haase. All right, we start out the gathering by letting you know how we run things. This is our management team. That's me on the bottom right, Gary LaFleur. I'm at Nicholls State in the Center for Bayou Studies. We get a whole lot of help from Jonathan Foray at the top left. He's with the South Louisiana Wetland Discovery Center. Maria Zarang, who's on the call today, she's with the Folk Life program. She's the director of that, the Louisiana State Folk Life program. We get help from Dr. Rachel Doherty at ULL, and she's with the Louisiana Folklore Society as well as the Center for Louisiana Studies. I know she's in France today, so we're happy that she's doing that. We get a whole lot of help from what this slide says is our staff members. That's Maida Owens. She's the senior program consultant, and Dr. Shanna Walton, who is our project coordinator, but they're just called staff, but they're the ones who really helped create the Bayou Culture Collaborative in its origin. So we're lucky to have help from them. Okay, next slide, Sam. All right, this is just to remind you that we're going to go over some concepts today and some ideas. We want you to know that we don't think we have all the answers to everything, and we're not exactly advocating for you to do one thing or another, and how you're thinking about bayou culture and coastal ecology and what we're going to do in the future. But we do like to have this space so that we can think about it and hear from experts. Now, I know that image there is from the Rougarou Fest. That's one of the places that we think about and celebrate this idea of the cultures of the coast and of the bayou region and what's going to happen in our future. Next slide. We get a lot of help from these funders. That's the National Endowment for the Arts, the Louisiana Office of Culture and Development, the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities, as well as the M.J. Sindler Family Fund for Culture and Media, and we appreciate that help through their financial resources. Next slide. Okay, this is our outreach spotlight, and we're going to hear from Maida. But Maida is muted right now.
Sorry about that. Yes, I was in Atlanta during the Rougarou Fest. That was a hard choice to make, but it had to happen. And so I presented about the BCC and at the American Folklore Society. But I wanted to let y'all know that we're doing workshops around the state, and two of them are scheduled for next week. One is for the Resilient Future project from Tulane, and it will happen in Arnaudville. And then CRCL, Leadership Institute, has asked us to do the full workshop in Montague. So these are opportunities that you know that will be coming up in the future.
Okay, thanks for that, Maida. You know, so we do this once a month, but we also have some BCC projects that are going out and doing things in person. And Maida is often the person that's running the show there. Next slide. Now we are going to hear from Maria Zarang.
All right, so this is my monthly artist spotlight, and I want to spotlight a group of artists that I met, the Campy Quilters, when I was traveling around the state this summer when I just started the job. This was at the Nashville Folk Fest. And the Campy Quilters, they're based in central Louisiana, and I kind of wanted to talk about like the history of their organization. It started in 2000. A local priest, Father Dan Cook, wanted to do a community revitalization project in an old building that used to be a bank. And so he invited the community to bring in artifacts. So, you know, people can just share what they liked about, you know, their town. And the local quilting bee, which is the Campy Historical Quilters, they brought their quilts and started volunteering their time at the building that, you know, eventually became a museum. And so that's where they meet at the Canty Historical meeting. And the woman in the photos at the Canty Historical Museum, excuse me. And where Clara Sylvie, she is she's been the member for the longest, since 2000. So she's been in the quilting group for 25 years. And it's just a wonderful group. They give back to their community. They teach people how to quilt. They repair quilts. So it's a great group of people to spotlight. All right, thanks.
Thanks for coordinate that, Maria. We appreciate that. All right, next slide. Okay, this is today's agenda. We are going to hear from the executive director from BTNEP, that's Bren Haase, and he's going to take questions after his talk. We're going to ask him how he plans to move forward with intention, thinking about cultures in the coast. We are going to give a little update on our working groups so that you can keep in touch with them. We will give some time for announcements. So if you have an announcement, you can send that to the chat when we get to the end of our meeting, or you can raise your hand. And, you know, like always, we're going to end at 1, and that's the formal Bayou Culture Collaborative gathering, but we're going to stay on the Zoom until 1:30 if you have some other questions or some other things that you want to talk about. Okay, next slide. I am going to introduce our speaker now. I'm really happy that Bren said yes to this. So Bren Haase is the executive director of the Barataria-Terrebonne National Estuary program. We always throw out BTNEP, and sometimes people, if they're from another part of the state, they don't know what we're talking about. That's what that is. That's the estuary program in South Louisiana. And this program, this estuary program, has some of the richest sources of traditional ecological knowledge. And so that's why we asked Brenda to talk today. He has over 30 years of experience in coastal wetlands ecology and restoration and protection, and he's been doing this in several different types of agencies, state agencies, federal agencies, and private sector firms. He has a bachelor's degree in marine biology from Auburn. We don't hold that against him, and a master's degree from LSU in oceanography and coastal sciences. Now, some of y'all might have already known about Bren before he joined BTNEP. Bren had several leadership roles at CPRA, that's the Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority. He served as the chairman of the CPRA board as well as the executive director, and those are the 2 highest positions at CPRA. As part of that, that means that Bren helped to plan and develop the coastal master plan. That's the blueprint for the coast. He did that in 2017 and 2023, as well as the annual plans in between that. And so we're real happy to have him with that type of experience at CPRA and BTNEP. And I'm going to hand it over to Bren Haase now. Thanks for being with us, Bren. You can share your slides.
Thank you for that, Gary. I will attempt to do that now.
Yeah, we're always holding our breath at this little minute because no matter how much you practice, you never know.
I think we're getting there. It's just taking me a second.
Yeah, looking good.
Got it.
Yeah, now you'll hit the show. Yeah, looks perfect, Bren. So take it away.
Okay, great. Well, again, thanks, Gary. Really appreciate the introduction, and it's great to be with you all here this afternoon to talk about some things that I'll have to admit up front is a little bit outside of my comfort zone. I've been around obviously the coastal game, if you will, for quite a long time, and there's no denying, of course, that personality and place, as you see here on my title slide, are intricately tied together. But in my former role, we always sort of took a, if you build it, it'll happen, or if you build it, they will come kind of approach. And so it's been an interesting shift in kind of my way of thinking, I guess, to get into this realm, if you will, I guess a little more intentionally, to borrow a phrase from Gary in the role I have here in BTNEP now. So anyway, I want to just introduce you a little bit to BTNEP and talk a little bit about some of the projects that we work on related to preserving culture, in addition to place, of course. And so when you think about personality or culture in a place, it seems to me that there's more or bigger, or I don't know what the proper adjective is, I guess, but better personality in places where there's a lot of water. And certainly Louisiana is no stranger to having a lot of water. And of course, our personality is so intricately tied to that. And if you don't think that there are differences, in different places, I'm sure most of the folks here absolutely do. But just think about some of the things that we say of ourselves here in Louisiana. And so these are either slogans or things many of you are familiar with. Of course, we call ourselves a sportsman's paradise. One of our slogans recently was "Come as you are, leave different." Chaffalai, American's foreign country, right? Who else says things like that? Or laissez le monton rouler. Again, that's unique to Louisiana. Another one, some of you may have remembered, was a state motto from a few years back, was Louisiana, a dream state. And we have places like the Big Easy and things like that. And just by way of juxtaposition, our neighbors just to the west have, a slogan that says, "Don't mess with us." So there's certainly some differences in approach, certainly a warmness and an openness, I think, to the culture in Louisiana, which is evidenced, I think, by some of those mottos and names and so forth. So anyhow, we want to just move on and talk a little bit about our program. Hopefully, many of you are aware of this, but we were established in about 1990. We're part of the nationwide National Estuary Program, which was established under Section 320 of the Clean Water Act that was revised in 1987. We're one of only 28 national estuaries across the country. You see those listed here on the map, and of course, you can see there in Louisiana where we are located. Just a little bit of a zoom in of kind of of the area in which we operate. It's essentially all of the area between the Mississippi rivers and Mississippi and Chaffalaya rivers on the east and west, respectively. So about 4.2 million acres of forests, of swamps, of freshwater, brackish and saltwater, and of course, Barrier Islands, coastal shorelines that we all enjoy so much. I mentioned our borders already, but from east to west, and we also run from north to south, from Point Capee Parish all the way out into the Gulf of Mexico on the southern end. There are two primary basins, obviously Barataria-Terrebonne, that are separated by America's longest main street, Bayou Lafayette. About 600,000 residents live in this area. And as you all probably are well aware, it's one of the fastest disappearing land masses on Earth. So about half of the land loss that's been experienced in coastal Louisiana over the last 100 years or so has occurred within this estuary. Our mission's pretty straightforward. It's to rebuild and to protect the estuary for our future generations by implementing science-based and consensus-driven plan that focuses on culture, economy, and natural resources. I do think I'll say that our mission is a little bit unique among some of the other estuary programs. They're all the National Estuary Program is an interesting thing in that each one is sort of its own deal, right? There's some commonalities among all of the 28 programs, but to my knowledge, none of the other programs around the rest of the country really focus or have a focus on culture the way we do in BTNEP. So I mentioned the science-based and consensus-driven approach. Just some more details a little bit about our program. We're essentially a P3, if you will. That term gets used a lot, but we're a state and federal partnership. And of course, we partner quite a bit with private entities or entities that are outside of government as well. It's important to note we're non-regulatory. So we are not the stick, we are the carrot portion of EPA, if you will, and the NEP program, of course. Our direction is guided by a management conference. I know many of you on the call have either attended or actually part of our management conference. It sets the direction for this program. It does that through the Comprehensive Conservation and Management Plan that in turn is implemented through various action plan teams. So there are issues of concern that are laid out in the management plan. Those issues are translated into things that can be done, obviously, to address those issues. And then we go out and we implement those projects through the action plan teams. I would like to invite anybody that's on the call here, if you're interested and don't know much about BTNEP, or if you're interested in getting involved and helping to focus our efforts and focus the direction of the program, start coming to some of our management conference meetings. And we'd love to have you become a member, a full-fledged member of that management conference, and be involved again in the program a little more deeply. It's not super onerous. We have quarterly meetings, so they're 4 a year. And of course, you can be as involved or as uninvolved as you might like to be. But we'd love to have you be a part of what we do at BTNEP. So I mentioned this already, and you guys, again, are probably well aware of this, but over the last 100 years or so, about 2,000 square miles of our coastal wetlands have been lost. Again, about half of that are in the estuary that we represent, in the Barataria-Terrebonne Estuaries. You can see that in southeast Louisiana there in red. And we know that if we don't do anything to implement programs like BTNEP, our coastal overall coastal program, of course, another 4,000 or so square miles could be lost in the future. And again, this is all super important for these things that you see listed here. But I would posit to you, I guess, that if you wrapped all these things up, you could this forms the basis really of our culture, right? Many of the reasons we're here are listed on this slide here. So these coastal wetlands are certainly important in terms of fisheries, in terms of the work we do, energy exploration, wildlife habitat. Of course, it's where we recreate, it's where we fish, it's where we boat, it's where we duck hunt, it's where we trap, and so forth. Talk about transportation and shipping and the importance of the Mississippi River, of course. Not just to Louisiana, but to the nation, and getting goods to the international market and getting goods into the United States as well. It's where we live. It's where our businesses are. And of course, our coast is our first line of defense as it relates to hurricanes, storm surges that affect our communities and can have such a punctuated impact on those communities and in turn, our culture. So some of the programs that BTNEP is involved in to help preserve these places and in turn our personality relate to migratory and resident birds. So we do work, for example, on Fouchon Beach or on some of our barrier islands related to how migratory birds are using those habitats before and after they're restored. And that information is then fed back into folks like CPRA that are doing some of that work to help them better plan and design their projects. Habitat restoration and native plant production kind of go hand in hand. We have a nursery on the Nicholls Farm facility just south of campus where we grow, we collect native stock, if you will, or plants that are evolved to Louisiana's climate, evolved to Louisiana's, particular weather and hydrographs and all of that kind of stuff, that our environment essentially. And those plants are then grown out, they're propagated at our native plant nursery, and then they're in turn used on some of the largest restoration projects that are being built in the world here in coastal Louisiana. And those are really important, not just in terms of holding sediment in place, but also as habitat for things like birds and insects that rely on those plants for their life cycle and for their migrations and so forth. Outreach and education has become, has always been a big part of BTNEP. We have placed a little bit of a renewed emphasis on that here in the last year and a half or so, and are trying to sort of build out that communications, outreach, and education portion of what we do at BTNEP. We work a lot with invasive species and trying to find ways to manage those species that are already here, keep those that aren't here out, and deal with those in a way so that they're not impacting our native habitats. Water quality, I mentioned the Clean Water Act earlier. Sort of water quality is one of the cornerstones of our program, providing clean water and helping to monitor the water in our estuary and get it cleaner for our citizens that need it. And of course, our fish and wildlife that need it as well is a big part of what we do. We have a big emphasis on pollinator species. And so plants that, provide sustenance for our pollinator species. We grow those out at our nursery as well. We have seed libraries throughout the estuary that people can gather those seeds, collect those seeds from our library, and form their own habitats, their backyard pollinator habitats, to help various species throughout the estuary. And then marine debris removal, litter, we all know, is a huge issue in Louisiana. Certainly is one in the estuary. It is something that we're constantly working on, cleaning up Bayou Lafourche, cleaning up Fouchon, and of course educating folks on why marine debris is an issue. And then we've got a volunteerism component to what we do as well. So you see here just a picture. This is actually from our recent paddle event that was held for the first time in a number of years. We weren't on Bayou Lafourche. We were at Grand Bayou Choctaw, just in West Baton Rouge Parish, so kind of in the upper reaches of the estuary, which again has been a little bit of a focus of what we're trying to do over the last year and a half or so, is to get a little bit more of a presence and getting out in other parts of the estuary perhaps that we've not been in a while. And so this was a great trip. It was a great day. You see, that's actually one of our staff people with his two daughters there. That's Michael Massamy, who's our invasive species coordinator, with his daughters on that trip. And so I think this picture really illustrates a key to how one can preserve our culture, right? It has to be passed down from adults to children, or other folks at least that perhaps are not as familiar with it. And so glad to see this as a photographic example of one of the ways really to do that. And so I'll touch just real briefly. I know I'm getting a little bit short on time here on a few of the things that we have done specifically over the last just couple of years related to sort of preserving the culture of the Barataria-Terrebonne National Estuary. So one of those, hopefully you're aware of, is called The Precipice. This was a feature-length documentary that we partnered with public television in New Orleans to produce. It's really related to the trials and tribulations and the struggle, if you will, of the Pointe-au-Chien tribe and what they're facing, of course, in Southern Terrebonne Parish, and how that's being dealt with and what that's all about. So it was shown in 2023 at the New Orleans Film Festival, at the State of the Coast Conference, and at the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues. So it was widely seen. Of course, it was broadcast on PBS. Hopefully you caught it when it was out about a year and a half ago or so. And notably, it won an Emmy for Best Topical Documentary. We're involved in things like Swamp Camp. So the South Louisiana Wetland Discovery Center, of course, put Swamp Camp on. You all, I think, on this call are probably familiar with what Swamp Camp is, but it's a great opportunity for kids, I guess mainly in the Bayou region. Sarah, or somebody, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but to learn about the ways of the swamp, if you will, and the ways of the southern parts of the estuary and the Bayou region. So that's been a great partnership. It's been a long-term partnership between us, BTNEP, and the South Louisiana Wetland Discovery Center. So happy to be a part of that. Tele Louisiana French language video projects. We've actually got a couple of those. So Tele Louisiana is a media company whose focus really is on the preservation of French language. And so one of our projects, it's a mouthful. I'm not going to read you the title of the project, but it's to produce 12 live action interview-based docuseries episodes that shed light on cultural, environmental, and economic topics facing the estuary. And then another project that we're doing with them right now will identify, curate, and create new bilingual ecological and cultural tourism opportunities throughout the estuary. So that's another project we're proud to be a part of and happy to be working with them on. Rougarou Fest, you guys already mentioned that. Certainly I saw something in the text about it, but we were happy to sponsor the Folk Life Village at Rougarou Fest. I regret to admit, and maybe I shouldn't do this in this forum, but I have not had the opportunity to attend Rougarou Fest yet. I've had conflicts the last 2 years, and so I'm excited, hopefully, to be able to make my first one next year. I've heard nothing but good things about it, and it just seems like a really great event and one that certainly can go a long way to introducing folks to the rich culture and history of Southeast Louisiana. And anyway, we're proud to be a part of that as well. Mentioned the native plant program earlier. Of course, a lot of those native plants have some sort of cultural, perhaps medicinal significance to folks in this region. And so I think in that way, we're helping to help preserve our culture here. The Center for Traditional Louisiana Boat Building we are supporting them in moving into a new location there at the new settlement for some of the Pointe-au-Chien folks there in Lafourche, or that might be Upper Terrebonne Parish. But anyway, I think you all are probably familiar with it. And so we're happy that they're going to finally have a new place to house and to display their boats, their craft, and their skills there. And then Bayou Culture Collaborative. So we're all on this talk here today. We're happy to sponsor some of this work and be a partner with the Bayou Culture Collaborative in helping to share the word and spread the news about Louisiana's culture. So I think that is my last slide, and I think I'm probably just about right on time. So maybe I'm actually giving you a couple of minutes back, but I'm happy to take any questions from anybody. Again, just want to thank y'all for being such good partners with BTNEP, not just Bayou Culture Collaborative, but many of the participants on the call. And yeah, happy to get into the discussion and have a good conversation. So thank you.
Thanks, Bren. That was awesome. It's always good to hear about what BTNEP is doing. Now, I know y'all have a grant program that's getting ready to have its deadline. Were
Yep.
you gonna mention that a little bit
I
of
was,
that?
yeah, I was going to mention that. I guess you had mentioned, or there would be some announcements at the end, but thank you for teeing that up. Yes. So each year we, hopefully you all are aware, we put a solicitation out for project ideas to help advance our CCMP through those action plans, as I talked about earlier. And so that solicitation is open right now. It opened on October 1st. It closes on November 30th, 31st. 30th. Thank you. I never can remember those, but yeah, we'll actually be hosting a webinar next week on November 18th, in case anybody is interested in pursuing that and perhaps has a question about it. We'll be there to present some information about the process, the form that we're asking folks to fill out and submit to us, and answer any questions that they may have about the process. So yeah.
Thanks for reminding us about that. And I noticed, because y'all are a estuary program, you do some things that are kind of ecologically oriented, but you also have an outreach kind of cultural component that would be people could have cultural projects and apply, right?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, I
Absolutely.
see Sarah. Sarah Fontana has a question. So Sarah, go ahead and unmute yourself.
I was just
Yep.
wondering, I noticed that at some of the events that the team has been tabling at, you've been giving away a lot of native seed packets. Does BTNEP offer any program to where the public can come to the farm and get native plants for landscaping or for other uses, like you mentioned, the medicinal plants? Is that accessible, or is it something you might be open to?
Yeah, so we do annually actually have an event to do just that. There's a native plant giveaway. It was just held. I can't remember the dates. I think it was in September. But so we just passed that. We do that again annually. But if there's a specific need or a particular need, that's something that we could, certainly consider. But we can do it. Okay. Yeah. I have my colleague Michelle is sitting next to me. We're at a conference in Mobile, actually. So she's whispered in my ear that we also have Farm Fridays, which is an opportunity for folks to come out. They can actually work at the farm, do some volunteer work at the farm. And if you left with a plant or two, I don't think anybody would worry about that. But there is a sort of an official giveaway that's held annually, and you can monitor our website, social media to find out when that'll be. It's generally in the fall, though it'll be early fall, so it's usually in September.
Awesome. Okay, we're open for questions right now. Now, Bren, I remember when BTNEP used to host its own festival. They called it Fête d'Ecologie, and
Yeah.
some of the people kind of in the call, we would have booths, and in some ways, I think I can tell that even though y'all aren't doing that these days, it's like you're helping other festivals do their thing. So, like at the Rougarou Festival, which we just had in October, it felt a lot like the old BTNEP Fête d'Ecologie kind of energy. There was there were coastal booths there were folklore booths there, and there was a whole lot of celebration going on. So
Yeah, that seems, again, I regret that I've not been able to attend it. It seems like a fantastic event. We had several staff folks there, though, that were able, represent BitNet tabling there, but also one of the folks that's in charge of our nursery was there and was able to be on a panel related to native plants and their uses in sort of local landscapes and so forth. So it was good for her to be able to, or for us to be able to, have her there to share her expertise. about those issues in coastal Louisiana. Yep.
Yeah, thanks for you know, BTNEP was there, and y'all helped support that festival, and that was a pretty awesome day for BCC folks. Okay, so we're still in our question and answer period, and you know, maybe your questions will bubble up a little bit later. We'll have time at the end for some questions starting after 1 o'clock. So, you know, we like to end our kind of our formal presentations, Bren, by asking someone to think about something that we've been thinking about all year. So Sam, you can move that slide. We like to ask you, how are you going to move forward with intention this year? You're going to be the second to last person that answers this. We'll do it again in December.
Well, I'm glad you're asking me how I'm moving forward with intention and not backwards with intention. That would be that'd
Yeah,
be
that
not good.
might be happening in some places though, in some other circles.
No, I think to move forward with intention, I think you've got to know where you want to go, right? You have to have a plan. And so we are fortunate. I know I've mentioned it a couple of times, of course, at BTNEP, to have a comprehensive conservation and management plan that really is a blueprint for the things we want to do, the issues we want to address. And it is comprehensive. We can't do it all as BTNEP. We need partners like the Bayou Culture Collaborative and others that I mentioned before to help implement that plan and try to achieve as much of it as we can. But as a result of kind of having that plan in place, there's a cycle, just like with any other organization that BTNEP goes through. And so we're in kind of the beginning of next year's cycle with that solicitation. So I think having a plan and sticking to it, and you know, being flexible at the same time, really is kind of the best approach. And so, yeah, that would be how I intend to move forward with intention this year.
We appreciate that. Okay, next slide. Well, what the BCC does is every month we do this gathering. You heard from Ada early on that she is taking some of our ideas out on the road, and she's appearing at different meetings. But another thing that the BCC does is we have these working groups, and some people on the call may be interested in joining one of these working groups or getting in touch with them. You can get this information on the chat. Another way to get it is like to save that chat. But if you're interested in any of these, you could contact these conveners, or you could ask Sarah Fontana and she could get you in touch with them. So our working groups are the French Language Preservation Working Group, the Artists and Tradition Bearers Working Group, Culture and Coastal Planning Working Group, Protecting Collections Working Group, and the Preparing Receiving Communities Working Group. Now, you know, we meet once a month, but these working groups also meet oftentimes by Zoom at different times. And so you can look at this slide and maybe plan to zoom in with them if you're interested in that. And that's another way of interacting with the Bayou Culture Collaborative. Okay, next slide. Now, this is our next gathering. This is going to be December. It's the last gathering for 2026. And at that, we'll kind of conclude some of our things that we've talked about all year long, but we're also going to have a featured speaker. That's Rachel Netterveld. I saw her at the Rougarou. She was there getting some ideas, and some of you may be familiar with her podcast already. She has an excellent podcast called No Matter the Water, where she also goes over some cultural ideas and introduces people to some important ideas and concepts that Bayou Culture Collaborative is also interested in. So we're going to have her come and talk. And if you're interested in that, all you have to do is register like you did today, and we would love to see you back. That's on Friday, December 19th at noon, and that'll be our last BCC gathering of the year. Okay, next slide. Now, we have time for announcements. We also have time for questions if you have something bubbling up. I'm going to give the floor to Bren because maybe some people turned off their ears and they were waiting for these announcements. So, Bren, maybe you could just say one more time the deadline for submitting that grant, because that's the pretty important thing for folks for this BTNEP grant that's coming up. And
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
I know
So
you have two levels of money more or less. One goes up to 99,000 and one goes up to a higher number. So these are sizable grants.
that's right. Yeah. So it's one solicitation that's open right now, but it's open for two pools, if you will, of funding. Our base grant funding, and then our the IJA grant funding, which is the higher amount that Gary just referenced. And so yeah, so that's open right now. We're accepting project submittals, project ideas. Right now. That'll be open through November 30th. If you have any questions about that, you can reach out to me. I believe my email address was in the chat, so feel free to do that, or you can look me up on our website. Give us a call. Happy to talk with you about those things. But there's a solicitation with instructions on what to do, how to do it, and so forth on our website. So you can access that there. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty simple. It's not too onerous. The application, I guess, is not too onerous. And so would encourage anybody to take a look at that. Take a look at our CCMP. Think about where perhaps some projects that you might be interested in advancing would fit within that CMP and how it might fit with BTNEP. And then we'd love to see a proposal from you.
Now, I remember the days when the BTNEP grants were like $5,000, and this is a new era. And so, to me, you never know how long a new era will last. I mean, I'm glad y'all started this, but this is a substantial difference from 5 years ago. So, I mean, BTNEP is really helping different institutions out and people with different ideas with this. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're not $1 million opportunities, but they are, tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars
Yeah.
type proposals.
Okay. We are open for announcements. One way you can do that is you can put something in the chat, or you can raise your hand and let us know about something that might be coming up on your side. Um, you know, we have several things that are going to be happening in the spring. I can give y'all a little heads up. Some of y'all on the call are interested in the Louisiana Academy of Sciences, and that's going to be around March 15th, Saturday around March 15th, and it's the 100th meeting of the Louisiana Academy of Sciences. At the Louisiana Academy of Sciences, we have a section that is called Science and Humanities. So even if you do something that's more cultural, something that has to do with the humanities, especially if it's connected to the coast, which makes it kind of scientific, you might want to think about joining us at Centenary College in March for the Louisiana Academy of Sciences. Okay, here's something that's coming up. This is the CRCL lecture series, and they are getting together on November 18th. This is in Lake Charles. You know, a lot of y'all know that Lake Charles isn't really in this estuary. It's not exactly um, part of the area that we're always talking about down here in the southeast, but Lake Charles has an estuary, right? They're a coastal people. We care about the Southwest prairies as well. And so CRCL is going to be there with this series called Language of the Land, Stories Behind Southwest Louisiana's Place Names. So this is not a Zoom meeting. This is an in-person meeting. So if you want to do that, you can maybe check out that slide, take a picture of it, and meet our friends over there in Lake Charles on November 18th. Okay, next slide. All right, this is something important that's coming up. This is coming up before that Louisiana Academy of Sciences that I was talking about. This is the Louisiana Folklore Society annual meeting. And so many people here are part of the Louisiana Folklore Society, and we kind of took an off year, and now we're starting up again, and it's kind of rare for us to have a meeting in January. So, you know, we're more or less trying to beat the Mardi Gras meltdown that happens in all of our lives. We're going to have this meeting on Friday, January 23rd. That's when it's going to start, and on Friday, January 24th. And one of the things that's important for you to put down on your radar is that your 250 word abstract for our presentation is due on December 6th. So that's coming up. So if you would like to attend the meeting and give a presentation, you should submit your abstract by December 6th. Now the theme is pixelated, digital folklore and the folk we've become. All right, so it's kind of a modern theme. I'm going to let Maria Zarang say a few things about this. She's appearing here with us from the Louisiana Folklife program. Okay, Maria, you've got the floor.
All right, thanks, Gary. Yeah, so we're inviting everyone to submit proposals that relate to digital culture in some way, online communities, anything that is an intersection of folklore and the internet as it pertains to, Louisiana in some way. Now, if the digital approach is not really your thing and you like to present on other topics, we welcome any topics related to Louisiana folklore. So if you would like to present, you don't have to be an academic, you could be a student, community member, just someone interested in this. Please feel free to present your abstract on December 6th. Thanks, Gary.
Okay, and that's going to be in Lafayette, so that's an easy place to get to. So no excuses. I know sometimes people have a hard time driving all the way down to Nicholls or New Orleans or to one of the other corners of the state, but Louisiana, Lafayette's in a nice place, so it'll be great to have everybody there. Now, next slide, please. Okay, this is a reminder for if you're interested in the Bayou Culture Collaborative, you can hit up our QR code there, or you can check us out on Facebook. We do this once a month, which is good and bad. Sometimes that means it's good because every month you're reminded about the work that the Bayou Culture Collaborative does, but it's bad because if you missed our monthly meeting, then you have to wait 2 months, and we lose track of people sometimes. So this would be a way to make sure you're getting reminders about our events and our Bayou Culture Collaborative gathering. Now, some of y'all, I saw your face last month at the Rougarou Fest, and that's because in October, we did not have a Zoom call. You might have been thinking, hey, when's that Zoom call going to happen? In October, we purposely met in person at the Rougarou Fest, and it was a beautiful scene. You might have been there. Shauna Walton was running the Folklife Village, and we just had talk and demonstration after talk. At the same time that Bayou Rosa was talking about their oysters, you looked over to the right, and we had several indigenous people making a beautiful palmetto hut right in the kind of the courtyard. And so by the end of the festival, you could get inside that hut. And I was in that hut with Dustin Ruther's daughter. I'm telling you that. I don't know if you got photos from that yet, Dustin, but I'm going to send them to you. That was a delight to share some time inside an indigenous palmetto hut with your girl. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next slide.